In business news today, 3 things to know. First, fair weather markets. After 3 days of rainy sell-offs, a ray of sunlight for the markets. After rebounding on news of retail sales hitting an 8-month high and a drop in jobless claims. Then, cruise control. Why the cruising industry is staying afloat despite its turmoil and remains relatively recession-proof. And faith in business. How faith is playing an important role in a company's success. Rise Xchange starts right now. Well, hello, I'm Julian Phillips in for the vacationing Andrew Schmert. Well, the market forecast is certainly looking a lot brighter today after a week that began with huge sell-offs and continued for 3 straight solid days. Well, news of a stronger than expected retail report with sales rising by 0.7%, driving the markets. Well, the Dow soared by more than 200 points in earlier trading, a great rally. The Department of Labor says fewer Americans filed applications for unemployment benefits. That's good news. The number fell by 3,000 last week to a seasonally adjusted 294,000. Well, those strong economic figures lifted Wall Street today, and that's also good news. Here's a look at the final numbers. Green arrows across the board. The Dow closed up to 17,596. The S&P 500 up slightly to 2,035, and the Nasdaq ended the day up 0.5% to 4,708. The top stocks we're watching today in Rise Xchange. Facebook's photo-sharing platform Instagram officially has more users than Twitter. Instagram is reporting 300 million users worldwide this month, just 4 years after it was launched. That's short. Facebook closing up 2% to $77.73. Amazon has increased its openings for same-day delivery services this holiday season. The online retailer also says the declassified Senate intelligence report on CIA torture has become a bestseller on the site since it was released on Monday. I'm scratching my head on that. Amazon closing up $1.50 to $307.34. And Microsoft is now accepting Bitcoin as payment for its services. Microsoft customers can use the digital currency to pay for video games and purchase apps. Microsoft closing up slightly. And now for a look at commodities. Gold closing down to $1,225.60 an ounce. And oil, again, closing below $60 to $59.73 a barrel. That's good for those people at the gas pump. Well, will the favorable forecast continue? For that, we turn to a friend of the show, Euro-Pacific Capital's Andrew Schiff. Andrew, welcome back to the show.
Nice to be here.
I've got to talk first about, we talked about this extensively yesterday in the first block about this budget deal. It was like a foregone conclusion, but now it's stalled on Capitol Hill. What's going on?
Well, at the last minute, it was kind of a surprise to everybody. I thought it was going to sail through, and then all of a sudden, the Democrats found some objections with some of the Dodd-Frank language, and the Republicans found some objections with not defunding the immigration bill. And it seems like, it's an odd time to play politics because, I mean, as far as I can tell, it's all moot because, the next Congress comes in just a couple of months. You'll have a Republican majorities in both houses, and they can pretty much rewrite the budget rules as they want.
Well, that may be the case here, but we've got like 2 parties or 2 party leaders like that want this thing to go through. The John Boehner, Speaker of the House, and of course you've got President Barack Obama.
Yeah.
But Andrew, perhaps it may have something to do. I'm just thinking, the 6,000-page report that I'm sure half of these lawmakers never really thumbed through, and a lot of the pork that's in there, interesting things in there. People are concerned about their pensions. There's something about bullets in there, the amount of lead in bullets and the environmental EPA probably be something about that. And something else that they said I didn't say, some measure on methane gas trying to limit cow farting. I mean, come on.
Well, they got to tackle that problem. That's a big one. But,
to say the least.
I mean, I don't really quite understand. I mean, of course, all the big issues in the budget haven't been touched, and they're not going to be touched. Remember the debt ceiling? We're not talking about that anymore because people seem to forget. A year and a half ago or 2 years ago, they pretty much made they took the debt ceiling off the table. They were trying to limit these types of debates and brinksmanship. And I think it was a disservice because now no one noticed that about 2 weeks ago our national debt passed $18 trillion. And that's even in the current economic situation where tax receipts are actually very high. If we have another downturn, which I think is probable, I mean, this current expansion is already into its 6th year. The average expansion in the post-war period has only been about 8 years. So if we come into another recession, you're going to see tax revenues fall off the cliff, and then we're going to have some major budget problems. Right now, the deficit is half of what it was back in 2009. So this is all small ball stuff, and I don't quite understand what they're doing. it seems like they're haggling over pennies, and when it's all going to be moot anyway next year.
Well, the bottom line is, you see, there could be a short-term bill passed,
which there probably will be.
Yeah, okay, but you don't think the long-term bill will hold up at this point?
No, I think they're going to punt. They'll do a short-term bill because they don't want to. They'll just keep something for the next month or two, and then they'll let the next Congress deal with it.
I want to touch on a few other things going past this. I hope there is a long-term bill passed, but you're probably right about that. Oil prices. I mean, down below 60 now. I can't remember seeing anything like this.
It's been 5 or 6 years. It's crazy. I mean, and the dominant narrative. And I took a look at the numbers today. It was very interesting. The dominant narrative is a supply-demand problem. There's too much supply. Well, there's a lot of supply because of the fracking shale boom, and that the global economy is relatively weak. Therefore, demand's down, so you have high supply, low demand, price is cratering. I just took a look at the IEA numbers today. Global demand is actually down about 2% in 2014. Global demand is up. Production is only down about. Well, it's like the demand is down about 2%, production's up 1% globally. It's a very small number. It's very different in the United States. In the United States and Canada, in North America, we've seen production go up about 30% in 5 years. It's crazy. But the U.S. and Canada only provided about 12 or 13% of global demand. So if you factor that in, on the world stage, it's not a very big number. So if you look at the supply-demand numbers, there aren't that big of a difference, and it wouldn't really account for a 40% drop in oil like we've seen. It might have a lot to do with sentiment, with the dollar, with technical. There was a huge amount of long interest on oil contracts middle of the year, and sometimes selling begets selling, and people buy into a narrative that there's no demand for oil and there's this huge global supply glut when the numbers don't really bear that out.
Well, I'll tell you what, I wish we could talk more about the housing market. Who are the winners and losers here in this whole...
People who own houses.
To say the least right now.
Yeah.
But Andrew Schiff, thanks so much, and come back soon.
I will.
Okay, thanks a lot. Well, coming up, it's one of the last recession-proof businesses, the unsinkable, not Molly, the unsinkable cruise line industry. Find out why when Arise Xchange returns. Stay with us.
The search continues for the more than 200 abducted schoolgirls.
Unquestionably, this is a Nigerian problem.
President Barack Obama stopped short of visiting the border. Why can't Washington get anything done when it comes to immigration reform?
But you got to come up with a solution to it, and no one has a real solution.
Does this further terrorize people, make them more afraid, or is this making people angry? Hello and welcome to Arise America. I'm Debbie Turner-Bell.
Global. It's Monday, so it must be time for a new round of sanctions against Russia.
Nigeria is open for business, and you are getting a handle on this situation.
Compelling. Time for liquid lunch, things that make us want to drink. Could she have been separated at birth from, say, Grimace? All business.
Money's coming out of these countries, and that flow is part of what's driving the equity markets.
Entertaining money daily.
It's about reimagining.
Arise Exchange.
Well, welcome back to Arise Xchange. Corporate earnings season is wrapping up, and here are some of the major reports out today. Adobe reported earnings per share of 36 cents, beat analyst expectations by 6 cents. Adobe's fourth quarter revenue of $1 billion was also slightly above estimates. Lululemon reported it beat earning estimates by 10%. The athletic apparel maker says EPS of 42 cents was boosted by strong direct sales. Radio Shack says losses widened in the third quarter and announced more cost-cutting measures. Radio Shack reported a per-share loss of $1.23 on dwindling sales. Well, now time for our business ticker. Stories making headlines across the nation and indeed around the world. Congressional staffers walked out and gathered on the U.S. Capitol steps today, and it wasn't about the latest budget. They joined protests across the U.S. and abroad regarding the lack of indictments in the Michael Brown and Eric Garner cases, unarmed African-American men killed by white police officers. Well, unpaid medical bills are a chronic pain for many consumers. A new report says nearly 1 out of 5 Americans have unpaid medical bills. Well, that's 43 million people who owe an average of $1,700, according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, who issued the report. Well, consumers blame the confusing payment notices they receive from hospitals as well as insurance companies. Well, Sony launches a counterattack. Weeks after unreleased movies, embarrassing emails, and employee data were leaked, the company is using a tactic typically used by cyber criminals. It's directing huge amounts of traffic to sites that allow downloads of Sony movies, which slows the downloading process, according to the tech blog Recode. Sony has not commented. Well, a ruling on insider trading changes the game for trying these cases. A U.S. Court of Appeals overturned a conviction of 2 hedge fund traders accused of insider trading. The unanimous decision by the court ruled traders must know tips are in exchange for some personal benefit. Well, in this case, the court says the traders would not have known of this benefit. Well, iPhones in the sky, they're everywhere these days, guys. United Airlines will provide the iPhone 6 Plus smartphone to its 23,000 flight attendants in 2015 to boost in-flight service. The attendants will be able to handle retail transactions as well as access to company safety and service information. And somebody's phone is going off in here. United Airlines was among the first airlines to give iPads to pilots in 2011. Maybe that's an iPhone. And check out this, a collection of 60 classic cars worth an estimated $18 million. It was discovered in a barn in France after, get this, 40 years. And the original owner planned to open a car museum but fell on hard times and had to sell some of, or most of his collection, but held on to some. The cars will be auctioned in February 2015, and I hope to be on hand for that. Of course, I don't have any money. Well, anyway, the cruise industry seems unsinkable. Not Molly Brown. Even during the worst of times, like a recession and through years of high-profile disasters on the high seas, the industry continues to be a booming business, hosting more than 20 million passengers a year and still growing. Gabe, Travel Zoo's senior editor, joins us by phone. Gabe, Travel Zoo is an online guide to travel and entertainment deals. Gabe, listen, I just don't understand this. All the disasters that have taken place on the high seas, people getting stuck, people getting sick, and the business is booming. How do you explain this?
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, numbers are up. Keep in mind that in 2014, we've got 21.7 million people around the world taking to the high seas. That's up from 21.3 last year, and the numbers really have been growing year after year. And I think at the end of the day, when you look at those numbers, and although there are incidences that pop up periodically throughout the course of the year, it still remains a safe way and a very value-driven way to see the world. But these incidences, Julian, do a couple of things. One, they keep consumers on their toes. They remind us as consumers that, hey, we're on a ship with 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 strangers. We should not let our guard down all the way. We should wash our hands regularly. We should be vigilant when we're enjoying our cruises out there. And it certainly has put the industry on alert as well. I mean, after the incidences that Carnival saw last year, they immediately spent about $300 million on new emergency generators to help make sure that none of these ships get stuck out at sea. So it does elevate awareness for both consumers and the industry, and the value just is the reigning champion here in this particular picture.
Gabe, I got to tell you, cruises are not for me and not for a lot of people, but they are for most because, as you said, the value is there. You've got everything there. It's all inclusive. You can go almost 24 hours with something to do on a cruise ship. But, I guess with the Ebola scare, the fact that, diseases travel, and we've seen this happen time and time again. I don't know if I could say that they're so widespread. It seems to me people would be taking notice of this and saying, hey, look, maybe this is really not the thing to do, just even for safety factors.
Yeah, and I think there's no doubt we did see a little bit of a change after 2012 when the Concordia disaster happened. 2013, we saw a series of mishaps with Princess. We saw a drop in online bookings. About 25% of online bookings took place in 2012, down to about 6% in 2013. So the industry did have to pick up the pace. There was much more on-the-phone communication with consumers, and we saw a much splashier type of outreach when it came to things like value-added incentives on the cruise industry side. But at the end of the day, I think we still are seeing that the value reigns supreme. I mean, even with the Ebola scare, we really didn't even see a dip on air travel domestically. If anything, air travel demand is up. And I think that despite these kinds of incidences, again, it's a reminder for people to remain vigilant. but it's hard to overcome the kind of value people are finding on these ships. And I mean, look, in 2014, the Port of Miami setting a brand new record: 4.8 million people taking ships in and out of Miami.
Right.
So
right.
The dent is minimal. I mean, it forces for some fine tuning and some tweaking here and there, but the volume still continues to rise.
Right. Again, we were looking at some pictures of the Casa Concordia disaster there just a few seconds ago. Before you leave here, Gabe, Richard Branson, he's launching a cruise line. I'm sure it's probably not going to be the cast of thousands like a Cecil B. DeMille's epic, but if he's doing this, obviously he knows that something good is going on here.
Yeah, and he's entering the fray with 2 new ships in the Caribbean, which is the most crowded space in the cruise industry. More than a third of all cruises in the world take place in the Caribbean, and that's where Richard Branson is launching his couple of ships. So, yes, bottom line is that although it's a crowded space, the demand is growing, and therefore there's just more room out at sea for newer ships, and these newer ships are giving people that extra bit of confidence. Hey, we're going on a new ship, new equipment. The training gets better year after year, and so I think that he's entering a fray that is crowded, yet there's still plenty of room for growth.
I guess I might have to rethink this myself just for the value alone. Gabe Saglie, thank you, sir.
All right, thanks, Julian.
Okay. I had a recipe for success, why many experts are saying having a strong faith will lead to more success in business. And you're watching Arise Exchange.
There is a reason Africa is called the new frontier. What was once potential is now an opportunity ready to be seized. Once revered for our resources, today's wealth lies in our people. People who build the cities that shape the future. People who know an idea in one place means business in another. A generation for whom technology means there are no borders, no boundaries. We are the new lions in a brave new world. Kings of the urban jungle. And there's a bank that puts the world in our pocket and the future in our hands. UBA, Africa's global bank.
Apple unveiled new products today. Did it meet expectations?
Apple stock is up 20%.
The White House says it has proper measures to contain the spread of Ebola.
This seems to be, in some ways, exploding. What are officials saying?
We remain focused on working with our partners on the ground to stop the epidemic.
Enhanced measures have been put in place in Africa and the United States.
This is hitting home in a very real way, and I think, we need to be concerned.
Hello and welcome to Arise America. I'm Debbie Turner-Bell.
Welcome back to Arise Exchange. Making smart business decisions and investments aren't the only factors in determining a company's success. Experts say having faith is also an integral factor in driving overall growth. Our next guest knows about this firsthand. He's the founder of Leaders of Tomorrow, Brooklyn, and joins us now on the set. And I've got to welcome Pastor Lamore Miller Whitehead. It's great to see you. And I just got to make mention, this whole thing with the indictments or non-indictments of police officers, and your father, unfortunately, Arthur Miller, was the first one where there was a chokehold put against him, unfortunately resulted in his death, that changed the laws for the NYPD not to use chokeholds on people.
Yeah, that was actually in 1978, 36 years ago, where that 16 officers put the baton around his neck and crushed his windpipe, and not one of the officers was ever indicted. So, this is, my father's death is the reason why the chokehold was illegal. And Spike Lee dedicated Do the Right Thing to my father. And if you look at the scene of Radio Raheem, that was in dedication of my dad. So, my heart goes out to the Gardner family. I was with them yesterday, and I told one of the siblings, I said, everybody's around you now because you're the hot thing.
Sure.
But 36 years later, you're going to see nobody's there.
Right.
So you just got to trust God.
Yeah, and certainly a groundswell of support, especially in the Garner case now, as it's triggering protests worldwide. And but let's move on from that now to the issue of faith and in business. Now, I'm a lay minister. And I know for a fact that there are plenty of principles in the Bible that people use. They won't necessarily claim the Bible as a source of these principles, right, but they're used, and they're almost, we call it timeless fundamentals, right, that drive success. Tell us about this.
Well, I can break it down in 3 categories. First, you have to have, no business is created without faith. Then you have to have a vision. Then you have to have determination. So faith, you have to believe, even if you're religious or not, you have to believe in someone or something. I chose to believe in a higher power. Then you have a vision. The vision, which is the factual elements of what your business is going to be built of. And then you have your determination. And I like to say that determination is when your purpose meets your passion. You know, so therefore it'll give you the drive. You know, me, myself, I trust my Creator God to help me in the process of growing and to continue to be on the vision that He has given me in my life. In the Bible, Habakkuk says to write the vision and make it plain.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Just write it down and make it plain. And, you know, and with that, you know, with any company, most companies that are very successful, they have a set of principles, and leading that is some sort of mission statement. I would assume that to be successful with that mission statement is something that you have to stick to no matter the odds, and even if you're facing rough times.
Right. Well, you know, with business, it's you have a purpose, then you have your process, and then you have your promise. So when a person starts a business, they have to know the vision. They have to understand the purpose. They have to understand what they're doing. Then you have to go through the process, the grinding, the building the system, understanding the financial industry, understanding how to build a corporation, whether it's non-for-profit, for-profit, whether it's a church. It has to be a systematic establishment on one accord.
How do you apply scripture to problem solving in a business? So say, for instance, you're having some financial problems, the books are in the red. What kind of scripture would you use to try to change the course of that ship in the business to make it profitable?
Well, I go to the book of Psalms when David was the king and he was down and out. And the first thing he said was, "In thee, O Lord, I put my trust." So we have to first trust God. And then he says, "Never let me be ashamed." So in the business world, you know, sometimes our pride get in the way, and we are so afraid to fall because of what we think our friends or our competitors are going to think.
This is exciting, and I wish we could talk more about this. I can't leave you without talking about something that you're doing here, the Gospel Explosion 2014.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, tomorrow we are having a big gospel explosion where Brooklyn meets Queens at the Greater Allen Cathedral. Pastor Floyd Flake is hosting, and myself. And we have Yolanda Adams and Erica Campbell and a host of other performances. It's just a fundraiser for my organization, Leaders of Tomorrow Brooklyn. You can go on the website, leadersoftomorrowbrooklyn.org. And, you know, we're a youth mentoring organization because our young people are dying, justified and unjustified.
I tell you, we've run out of time on this here, but I got to tell you, you've built your organization by faith, and I thank you for coming on our show, Pastor.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
God bless you.
You too. Next, business's social media darling and the recipe for her success. Karen Civil in our corner office is next. You don't want to miss this. Stay with us.
Unrest continues in Ferguson, Missouri. Exactly what happened to Michael Brown Jr.'s memorial. The NFL fallout continues. Why does this video change the game? President Barack Obama met with congressional leaders today.
He does not need congressional approval to carry out the strikes.
The only language understood by killers like this is the language of force.
Do I want to have a draft? No, because I don't want to have war.
Hello and welcome to Arise America. I'm Debbie Turner-Bell.
Informative. The U.S. economy is on the right path, and the wizard of the Fed is leading the way.
We started our companies originally to create something that made a positive difference.
Compelling.
I became very successful, not allowing myself to be average.
Our favorite person of the day when we pick one person who grabbed our attention and not for the right reason. Yeah, he sort of lost all business. Investors came back from the long weekend tanned, rested, and ready to buy stocks. Entertaining money daily, Arise Exchange.
Well, in tonight's corner office, our next guest has become synonymous with spearheading ultra-successful social media campaigns for companies that work. She made a name for herself by helping to boost the presence of Beats by Dr. Dre in the marketplace. You know those headphones. And since then has helped a wealth of musicians and entertainers boost their profiles as well, of course, as their incomes. Social media genius Karen Civil joins us now. Well, welcome to Arise Exchange.
Thank you.
And you know, we were talking yesterday about the top musicians now that are making the most money. Of course, Dr. Dre headed the list with over $600 million. Yes. Most of that had nothing to do with music itself, but with his headphones.
Electronics, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, marketing had everything to do with that, and you were behind that. I guess marketing is everything these days.
Yeah, marketing is generally everything. When I started with Beats, I was the 13th employee, and their marketing department really spearheaded a lot of the things that you see on TV, a lot of the, you know, the moments that we created in culture that you don't even realize was a marketing moment, but that people were just discussing.
You know, I got to talk about the marketing and the marketing as opposed to quality. What makes these headphones different than, say, any others? Is it, I mean, I'm sure there's quality to them, but I mean, you had to be really savvy with your marketing skills to get people to understand or get people to buy this and make money. How does that work?
I mean, it's a great quality product at the end of the day. It's noise cancellation, you know, it's fine-tuned by Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine. So taking all of that information and at the same time too making it cool, making it trendy. Making it cool.
Fix your microphone there.
Yeah, making it cool and making it trendy, you know, by partnering with a lot of today's known artists, from Lady Gaga, you know, Lil Wayne to P. Diddy. So it's just, it's Beats is the product to have. The same way you think about Nike and Pampers and Tabasco and certain things, Beats is just that product that lives there. You have to have Beats.
Okay, so you take a product like the Beats headphones, of course, Lil Wayne and others. You've been involved in promoting and successful for a lot of people.
Yes.
What is it when you have a product and you want to market this thing? What are you looking for specifically that you would say that would be unique to that product? And they may have several others out in the market, but something that's so unique to this product that makes it so marketable. How does that work?
For instance, with this, it's a great quality product. You take the information about it. This is noise cancellation. It cancels out the things around you. Who needs this? Who needs to cancel out certain things that are happening around them? So then you think into sports. You know, before they go in, there's the reporters, there's the people yelling at them, and it's honestly strategically pulling out the things that matter. So we know the noise cancellation. That's really what we move off of, and this is what's really important.
You're a marketing genius. You're the Shonda Rhimes of marketing, and like you're one of the leaders in the young generation here. I've got to ask, as a woman of color, how difficult has it been? Because you're very young.
Yeah.
How did you rise so quickly?
It's definitely difficult. You know, being a woman of color when you come into a room, you know, for people to take you serious and to understand, you know, not to be called the B word and to speak with passion and conviction. People aren't used to that. But I understand I have to work longer hours, I have to work longer, and I'm okay with that because I know what I bring to the table. I understand that people may not necessarily get it, but you're going to have to because I'm not going anywhere, and I know my ideas are great, and I let my work speak for itself.
And you're very positive about what you do and sure about it. You know, you're involved in so many things here. You know, you're involved in books. What is exciting you now? What are you involved in right now that's going on?
I'm working on my Live Civil tour, which is a 15-city tour that it's in colleges and also in other locations. And it's basically to the younger generation about living in your purpose and taking the first step. You know, when I started, I went to this panel called Women on the Move, and it was nothing like it. Now here are all these industry women coming together and telling you about their careers. And I thought this was incredible. And now eventually when I grew into my career, you know, there was nothing like Women on the Move. So I was like, you know what? I want to create something like that where all these girls are emailing me, they're leaving me Instagram messages and tweeting me. And I said, I want to be able to go to these schools, have these conversations with these young ladies.
And you're doing that, and you're on the move, and we've got to be on the move right now. But thanks for coming. I'm going to have you come back and market me.
Okay,
How about
perfect.
that? Okay,
Yeah, that'll
Karen
work.
Silva, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Tomorrow on Arise Exchange, toy reviews online by kids. It's big business, and we'll tell you why. We want to take a moment here at Arise News to welcome more viewers in the United Kingdom as we launch on Freeview Channel 136 in that country. Welcome aboard. Now for another look at the markets. Green arrows across the board. The Dow closed up to 17,596. The S&P 500 slightly up to 2,035, and the Nasdaq ended the day at 4,708. I'm Julian Phillips in for Andrew Schmertz. Thanks for watching Arise Exchange. We'll see you tomorrow if you keep it where it is.